When you've taught for 50 years, there's at least one moment in your career that is that quintessential moment. The story I'm about to tell you is that story. I had a student about 10 years ago whom no matter what I tried, I couldn't connect with. He wouldn't respond to my questions, wouldn't do his homework. My nature as an educator is never to give up on anybody. And so it came to a point in the class, in the term, where I gave my lecture on gratitude. He came up to me after class, waited for the students to leave, and said, "All that gratitude stuff that you talk about, it's all nonsense." I said, "Explain to me what you mean." He said, "It's all religious nonsense. You are obviously a very religious person, probably, a born-again Christian, and you're trying to convert us." I said, I find that very interesting, and I'm sure my rabbi would find it even more interesting, but if you want to know whether I do have a belief system, the answer is yes. He said, "Well, I'll tell you, I'm grateful to nobody for anything. I don't care what it is." I said, "Really? Are you grateful to your parents for raising you?" He said, "I didn't ask to be born." "Oh, you grateful for your teachers in primary school and high school?" "No, their salaries were paid by my property tax from my parents." I said, "Are you grateful to me for teaching you here at Art Center?" He said, "Why should I be grateful? I pay tuition that pays your salary. You have to teach me." I said, "No, my friend, I don't have to teach you. I choose to teach you." He said, "Well, I don't believe in it." I said, "Well, let me ask you a question. Since you're not grateful for anything, do you have a good bed in your house?" And he looked at me quizzically and he said, "What's a good bed?" I said, "Well, let me ask you another question. You have a bad bed, one that's bowed, and when you wake up in the morning, you have a sore back, and you come to school and you tell people you got a sore back." He said, "Well, I don't, so obviously I have a good bed." I said, "Good. Tomorrow morning, I want you to do me a favor. When you get up, I want you to turn to your bed after you've made your bed and say thank you for giving me a good night's rest." He motioned to me with a hand gesture that we won't describe, and out he walked. He came back the next week before class started and said to me, "I need to talk to you after class." I waited till the class had ended. He came up to me and he said, "You have no idea the difficulty you caused me this week." "Me?" He said, "Yes, you. I woke up the next morning, made my bed, and you jumped in my head, and I thought, no, I'm not going to say that." And the following morning, and the following morning, and then it came Sunday. It was a beautiful day, so I made the room. My girlfriend was in the shower. I made my bed, and then you jumped in my head, and I thought, what the hell? And I said, "Thank you for giving me a good night's rest." And as I said it, my girlfriend came out the shower. She said, "Honey, who are you talking to?" I said, "I'm not talking to anybody." She said, "I distinctly heard you talk. Who are you talking to?" And I explained the situation to her. And she looked at me with a very sad face and said, "I wish I was important as your bed, that you would express gratitude towards me." I said, "What happened then?" He said, "She started to cry." I said, "How'd that make you feel?" He said, "I felt terrible." I said, "What'd you do about it?" He said, "We sat down together, ate some breakfast, and had a 6-hour conversation like we've never had before. And at the end of the conversation, I finally had this sensation of gratitude for her being in my life, and I expressed it." I said, "Well, how'd that make you feel?" He said, "It was one of the most liberating feelings I've ever had." Roll the story forward. He married her. He graduated Art Center. He went on to teach at Art Center, and went on to have an incredible career in graphic design. And he still writes to me every 6 months and said, "Errol, I'll never forget the conversation we had on gratitude. I'm grateful for everything, and I'm grateful for you for teaching me. Thank you.